Live. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome. You made it. It's the end of the week, and it's the best part of the week because it's my community manager time. This is my community manager, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. Thank you so much for taking some time and hanging out with us this Friday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if you're watching this later. Special shout out to everybody over on Twitter using the hashtag CMGR Hangout. Glad that you guys are there. Big ups to Carrie and Kristen, who are over there rocking it out. We have I'm going to say it, we have an awesome panel today. So let's start off that awesome count nice and high. We are talking all about community manager resources in education. You know, last week we discussed the tools of the trade, collected quite a variety of community-related tools to check out. And this week, we are continuing the back-to-school trend by looking at what's out there in the form of resources and education for us, the community builders. Lifelong learning is super crucial for your role, and if we didn't believe that, we wouldn't keep hosting this Hangout every week. So I'm going to get out of the way, let the panelists introduce themselves so we can jump on in, starting with the wonderful Sherry.
Hey everybody, I'm Sherry Rohde, and I'm the community manager for Magento, which is an open source e-commerce platform, as well as co-produce and host things here with Dom and Brew.
Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Ehrlich. I am the community manager. I work with higher ed faculty and student communities at Pearson Education, and I also head up CMX New York.
Hey everyone, what's up? Happy Friday. My name is Jen Chen. I'm the community manager at Lithium Technologies, and I've been in this role fairly new, so I'm excited for today's panel and just to share the resources and things that helped me learn along the way.
And Eric?
I had to find that mute button. Hi, my name is Eric Herberholtz, and I haven't been in Community Manager Hangout for a while, but I started out at a community.
Oh, looks like we had a little
different time, so I'm kind of been doing that. Is my volume okay?
Oh yeah, we just had a little bit of an internet hiccup there, so. Yeah.
Well, Community Leadership Summit West is where I got my start in running events for community managers in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. So I've been well connected with them, and then I started hanging out in this hangout with Tim McDonald when he was here. So I have several different communities I participate in. So, and I try to provide some leadership and cross-pollination between communities.
Awesome. I love that, cross-pollination. That's great. Sweet. Hey everybody, I'm Dom. I am a community manager for Be the Change Revolutions, as well as co-host here with Sherry and Brew. Brew could not be here today, but he wanted me to say awesome, 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 and how much I miss his hair. And I think everybody misses his hair and his little community manager dungeon that he comes in from every week. So, and right off the bat, I know that I said that she's hanging out over on Twitter, but I wanted to give, obviously we have a big shout out for Carrie, who's always holding it down over there on Twitter, and a huge welcome and shout out to Kristen, who just joined the actual team, running stuff for us on Twitter. She is a whiz. She's in basically it feels like every Hangout community, and she does a great job. So welcome, Kristen. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see here. Question number one. Who do you look to as a role model or a key person to follow in the community space? So who you guys look up to?
Besides you guys?
Good input, Jen.
This is why they keep letting me come back. Just kidding. I'll go ahead and name a couple people. I think Joe Cothrell, the Chief Community Manager at Lithium, he's a great person to look up to. Super insightful and smart guy. So Joe's a great one. And then I also really love the CMX articles that come out. I think those are a really good resource for me. So those two, just to kick things off.
I totally agree with you, Jen. I love the CMX stuff from Carrie and David. I'd also love to talk about Tina Roth-Eisenberg, who started Creative Mornings. I have been to a couple different Creative Mornings events here in New York City, and they are awesome and just have a cool community vibe in person and online.
I've paid attention to many different people that I've met, and I mean, at first, when I first started out doing this, I was paying attention to Sir Richard Branson. That was my role model, so I watch him a lot, what he does out there.
It's all really great. Sherry, do you have anybody in particular that pops out in your head?
Well, Jen stole mine, which is Joe Cothrell, who I've learned a ton from lately. But also, there's a lot of community influencers out there who are walking the walk and talking the talk, and I really love learning from them. For example, Patrick O'Keefe does an awesome job sharing what he learns as he manages forums on a daily basis. And so since forums is kind of my world, I always end up learning a lot from him and appreciate his articles.
It's a really great point. Patrick's really solid with that. I definitely want to echo CMX for sure. You know, with the articles that Carrie and David put out, and the events too, like the summit that just happened in New York. By just happened, I mean 4 months ago. But you know, that was fantastic. And then I personally would be a little remiss. He's not here this week, so you don't get to see him blush. But Brew is also really solid when it really does come to it. And then obviously you have to look at Tim and Sherry as well for, you know, everything they've done for this specific community. It's been really, really great. So make sure you guys that are listening on Twitter tag all of these people if you can, because, you know, we want to try to gather as much of these resources as we can together. So give some shout outs and some love over there. Let's jump into number 2 then, as that's going on. What are some of your favorite books? So we're talking about actual books, something that you've read when it comes to community building. What are some of the ones that are stick out in your head?
Well, I can definitely hear the lithium love, so I would love to share one of my go-to analytics community books is this. I actually have it at my desk, The Science of Social. I use it, and Jen's freaking out right now. But I think it's a really great just kind of quick map to go through everything. But I also really love the book, The Power of Habit. It's a little more business and psychology, and it's won so many awards, but it just kind of talks about how we think the way we do, and I think that influences a lot of what people do in communities, and that would be super helpful. It's called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but yes, love that.
I have a lot of favorite books. I love reading. I've noticed I've read more articles than books lately, but some of my favorites are The Power of Being Unpopular by Erica Napoli, whatever, however you say her name. I can't remember. I'll tweet it out. But it's a great book. Another one of my favorites for community building is Sarah Robinson's Fierce Loyalty book, which really just kind of gives you, it's a quick read, but it's a really great just framework kind of on understanding how communities are built and why people connect to each other and how to really help zone in what area you should focus on to help people rally together and build your community. And then also I really sorry, ignore my phone. I really like Jessica Malnick's post that she put together of quite a few books that you don't necessarily think of in community building, but they're really focused on social skills that you use in community building. And that was actually on her blog. I just shared that out on the hashtag, so it's there for you.
I think Sherry was getting back at me for stealing her answers on that first one because she basically just stole all of mine. So there you go, what Sherry said.
Well, the book that I haven't read much of yet, but I do know it's a good one. The Art of Community by John O. Bacon. From O'Reilly Books.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that one. I've heard a lot of good things. I personally haven't read it yet either, which is unfortunate because I think I even have it on my computer. But yeah, I've heard good things about that one.
Another couple for me, I want to give Brian Kramer some love because his books, Shareology and then H to H, are both really, really, they're just great tools when it really comes down to like what some of the other people have talked about. It's like really getting down to the basics of community and what that really means. I think that when it comes to books and things like that for specific communities, like there's a lot of tangents, there's a lot of ways to get into different communities, but when you really look at it, what we really get down to the basic, the core of community, I think that's really important and some great basic textbook type things to read. So, Sherry, you mentioned that you've been reading more articles lately than necessarily books. That actually moves really well into question 3, and that's what are some blogs that you like to turn to in order to fine-tune your community skills? And anybody can jump in here if you got anything off the top of the dome.
I think we've covered some of this already, but I would definitely echo the shout-outs to CMX. The work Carrie does coordinating posts there is really fantastic. They're super in-depth. There's a lot of research, and I find that I always learn things reading them. There's some great case studies, too. And then also, as I already mentioned, Patrick's blog is great, especially if you're working with forums and want to learn kind of the things that come up there and how to address them.
Totally agree with what Sherry said, and also like to bring up the community roundtable and FeverBee. I think those are super helpful, and I also just like to look at other cool and different communities. One of my favorite random ones is Backyard Chickens. It's kind of hilarious because it's like all these people who have chickens, and maybe some of you have chickens in your backyard. But they have a ton of engagement, so I also like to just kind of check in and see what they're doing different.
I think adding on to, I mentioned the CMX, the website or blog earlier. That's definitely a great resource. Also, another plug for Lithium, but Michael Wu, he makes data actually sound fun, and that is not easy to do. I think he does a lot of analysis on gamification and on community that's really interesting, and he writes in a way that's really is very engaging and helps you learn a lot. And then this might be a little bit obvious, but the CMJR Hangout posts eventually turn into blogs, and actually there's been times where I'll watch a Hangout but then actually go back to read that blog article or rewatch it, because I feel like community management is a constant art where things are changing. So something that might have happened a couple months ago will be really useful to me during a certain week during a certain time where we're focusing on a certain initiative, and that actually really helps me, because different things will come top of mind and I'll be able to go and find that resource.
Yeah, what Jen just said, ditto that for the Hangouts for resources. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the blogs too, and those websites and the Hangouts, like the search feature on a lot of these things too is fantastic. If you think of a specific resource, not to like sort of self-promote when it comes to CMGR Hangout, but the panels that were put on for CMAD the past couple of years, you're talking 24 hours of panels. They're covering a wide range of topics. So, and a lot of, I believe almost all of those, if I'm not mistaken, Sherry, actually have wrap-ups that are written for them too. Is that right?
No, actually almost none of them do.
Okay.
But I'm glad that you brought that up, because quick side note, actually keep your eyes open, because we'll probably be passing things around shortly to see how people want to get involved for 2016.
Yeah. another quick side note with that too is that when I just saw some in the chat, everybody was talking on Twitter. They were talking about everybody was sharing their superstars and everything like that. So we know that the CMAT awards, everybody was just getting their awards finally from last year. Shout out to all those winners. But nominations for that will be open in the future here too. So remember all those fun people. But all of those resources as well. And then really quick, I want to share. Something really quick with you guys. Let's go right here. Just a couple of books that other people mentioned too. Just give some shout outs for some other things that people are bringing out there. Gordon, Here Comes Everybody by Clay Shirky, and Future Perfect by Steve Johnson. Thanks for those, Gordon. David DeWalt, Smart Business, How Knowledge Communities Can Revolutionize Your Company by Dr. Jim Botkin. And then also Emily Glover. Thanks for coming by, Emily. How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. That's good. Even if you go all the way back
Emily,
to
not cheesy at all.
Not at all. I mean, you can go back to just How to Win Friends and Influence People, like the original version by Carnegie, and that's some pretty solid stuff. So yeah. And by the way, anybody that's on Twitter, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shout them out to us. We got a lot of resources on this panel right now. So you want to pick their brain. We give you an opportunity to do that. So
the part about the answers and questions that are coming up at all these Hangouts, those are archived somewhere as well for us to search?
Yes, they are. Every week I put together a preview panel, so the questions and all the panelists' bios are there along with the recording. And then also Sarah Nagel and now Kristen Cardos has been / will be publishing a weekly Storify recap, so that brings in all of the tweets from the hour as well as the questions and the video, and that's all archived on our blog as well so that you can follow along in conversation if you missed it.
Neato, gang. All right. Segueing here into question 4. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Question 4. What podcasts do you find valuable as a community builder? So we've sort of hit on the video side, but on the audio, what do you really enjoy listening to? I'll kick this off, and I will say crickets. Nobody listens to podcasts anymore. It's played out. Everybody's on Blab now. I will start off and say Chris Barrows and Why I Social. I really do love that podcast because it dips into where everybody's why people do social media. So you have big people like a Brian Fanso and a Ted Rubin and people like that. But then you also have just normal community managers that just everyday type people. Those are really great for me just to be able to peel back the curtain and see how people do it themselves. I think that's a really good one.
Dom, could you tweet that out so that we have that?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Why I Social. Yeah, Chris Barrows. He's a great dude, and he really took a lot of time and did a great podcast there. So.
Yeah, that's a fabulous one. I really like that one as well. I also just tweeted out a list. I made a Listly list once of social media and community-related podcasts, so feel free to check that out and add to it if you want. Another note on that I find really helpful is to look within your community. So I actually have the awesome privilege of having community members who started their own podcast about our company, about our product, and so that's obviously super essential for me to listen to. They publish 1 to 2 episodes a week, and it really just gives me more insight into what the community vibe is like. And then we have another community member who does interviews with different community members, but not about their work with the product, about their personal lives. So that's really cool as well, just to get like a quick 10-15-minute insight into the members of our community. But if you don't have those, look around and see what other industry-related things that apply to your community are out there too. So it's a great way to get a broader perspective.
I totally agree with those. I also definitely geek out about podcasts and listen to a ton that are unrelated and some that are related to community and just kind of thinking about people's behavior. I'm super into that. So I would totally recommend Invisibilia. I think especially they had a podcast called The Power of Categories, and I thought that was super relevant to not only doing your community, but also like everyday life, like thinking about how you categorize specific areas of your podcast, like how you talk to people, and just kind of different people's perceptions. Another new one that is totally awesome is called Reply All. It's all about different things. Dom is super geeking out about this too. It's all random stuff about the internet. It's a totally new podcast that came out of a podcast about starting a podcast called Startup. That's also a good one, but definitely check out Reply All. It's kind of keeps you tapped into all the random things that are happening on the internet. Also kind of echoing what Sherry was saying, like being tapped into your community. One of our community members is as I said, like my community is all professors and students. So of course professors are super uber smart. And one of our community members has one of the top 10 iTunes academic podcasts called The Psych Files. So I also like to listen to him. He has an awesome podcast voice. But if you're interested in psychology, definitely check him out and let me know what you think. And his name is Professor Michael Britt, so also tweet at him. But just kind of plug for my awesome community members.
Wow, Dom, she's like bringing it with the awesome.
Gosh, it's so good. It's so
right
good.
now.
I know. I love that you mentioned Reply All too, because I think that obviously community itself is a lot bigger than just the internet. Like a lot of us use the internet as a tool for community. The community was around a long time before that. Like, we all know that. It's not. When you really look at it, and I mean when you look at anything and you sort of dissect it down to what it originally was, and you look at stuff from Reply All, they're basically just two dudes that geek out about the internet, and when you really look at it, like when these communities first started and what they started for, I think that all of us sometimes with the we're talking about all these resources and tools, and we're never we never have enough time to talk about all of them because there are so many. When you really get down to the very basics of it, I think that that's something that's really special, and that's what, like when you really break down the power of categories in that podcast and the stuff from Reply All, talking about very beginnings of these communities, it is really, really cool for me. I'm super geeking out over it right now. So now let me see here. One thing I did want to bring in too, just because I think this is a good thing to bring in on days like today. Where did that go? Nope. Let's do this. Okay. Sorry, we're having some struggles here, folks, but we'll go ahead and do this. And Gordon, again, so we're going back to question 3. What are some other examples of articles? Want to bring some that we didn't actually mention. Social Media Explorer. That's a great resource there, Gordon. Thanks for bringing that up. Kristen also said she enjoys Buffer's blog posts. They include data around certain behaviors and outcomes. That's a really great point, Kristen. Anybody who's ever read Buffer's blog, they do a really good job and get into analytics and data and spreadsheets, and it's all sorts of awesome. So thanks for those. Keep those answers coming, guys. We'll pull some more of them on here. And let's see. Number 5. This is actually really interesting. I don't have a lot of info on this, so I want to hear what you guys have to say. Have you ever been certified? By who, and was it worth it? So anybody here who has been, tell us about your experience for those of us who haven't necessarily gone through it.
I've been, I have, 4 certifications under my belt right now. So first one is Fever Bees, excuse me, sorry, Community Manager Essentials, and I think that's actually a really good one. that one, and then Lithium's community manager, like their first certification. I think those are good stepping stones for anyone who's starting out. That really helps you understand like the community management sphere and things like that. And for those who are a little bit, more further along in their journey, I highly recommend Joe Cothrell's CMC2 or Community Manager second certification. That one is really good, and for me, it helped look at the different challenges in community management and how to tackle those. So Joe's certification is really great. And this is a side one, not directly related to community management, but it does really help, is Dave Evans' social response certification. Also really good just in terms of thinking about how to leverage and use experts within your community and be able to provide answers within the community in a really efficient way.
Just to echo Jen, and just to give you guys all some insight too, Jen is biased, but she was also a longtime community member until like a month or two ago, so you can also trust her opinion. But it's funny because Lindsay and I actually met in the Community Management Certification 2 course at Lithium's conference this year, so I know she'll have something to say there too. But I have a couple of certifications from Hootsuite as well as 2 from Lithium, and I think it's helpful. In Hootsuite's situation, really it helps you understand the tool more and learn the full capabilities of what it can do, which are things you might not realize just using it on your own. So there's some cool extra things there. On their first one, their second one is more focused around basic social media principles, which if you're new and you're using it a lot, it's a good start to that. As far as Lithium's, I actually wish that I had done a certification or some sort of course a lot earlier on in community management. I found that there were a lot of things that I knew the principles of, but I had never had any formal training around that. So it was really great to kind of have structure put in place and framework put in place to learn core principles of building a community and doing different things like a super user program or proper analytics or how to look for benchmarks and targets when you're building your community so you can report on that all the way up in terms that execs will understand, and just different things along those natures. Moderation skills I found very helpful.
Yes, as Sherry mentioned, besides the awesome community certification program, I also got to meet Sherry at the certification, and I actually only did the second certification. So if you guys, I was kind of going into it thinking that I'd worked with community for a while and I didn't really want to start in 101. And so I just kind of reviewed a few things and started in the second one, and it was really awesome. Like, I think I definitely built on all of my experience, and I didn't want to like start from the beginning. I think the first one would be super helpful if you just like have people who are starting out. I really learned a lot, as Sherry mentioned. My favorite part was kind of going through the analytics, but like I knew the analytics that I could measure, but just kind of knowing which ones are the most important and hearing what other people are using was super helpful, because there was a very diverse group of people who were in the community workshop, so it was really helpful to kind of have Joe Cothrell from Lithium go through and say like, okay, this is a really big business, this is a really small business, and everyone was able to talk about the different things that were the most valuable and then how they present it to their executives. Being at a big company, that's definitely something that I do every day, is figure out how to package up all of our things and message it out to our internal audience to say, hey, this community is really awesome, our professors and students are engaged and they're excited, and this is how we can measure it.
Yeah, I have not had any certifications. So.
Me either, Eric. Virtual high five.
I believe there's a few other organizations that do certifications too, so it's worth checking around, doing a search for community management certifications. I think the Community Roundtable does one too. I don't have an experience with that, but I'm pretty sure they have actually multiple certifications. And there's a few other courses and programs out there that also give certifications.
Sweet. Now, talking about some of those other courses, this kind of rolls us into the next question. what are some, have you guys ever taken any community courses, anything like that, where you didn't receive a certification? Something that, you know, it wasn't necessarily like a, hey, here's your certificate at the end, but just a course on parts of community management. You ever done anything like that?
I have not taken courses, but I have gone to several unconferences for community managers, and those were really valuable. The CLS West and CLS then up in Portland at the same time period as OzCon, and then when Tim McDonald had the different cities unconference, those are good resources, I think, to discuss.
That's where I met you, Eric, at the San Francisco Community Manager Conference.
That's right. Yeah, and the co-founders of Social Media Club was on the panel. So I mean, it's just you need a lot of different connections that way too, but you get to talk the talk.
Yeah, so I think if you want to know whether it's worth it to go to any of these things, apparently if you go, you will meet Sherry. So that's the benefit that you have of all of these. They should put that right on the brochure.
And she's really awesome, so why wouldn't you want to meet her?
Exactly.
Well,
Sherry is really awesome.
We also have had we met Laura from Hootsuite when she was at Hootsuite. So I mean, you need a lot of different community managers from different.
Yeah, Laura Herrick's great as well. You can find her at a lot of events too.
Adding to the Sherry love, we met at Link this past year, so I think I had like a fangirl moment when I saw her.
We did, but you were the all-star there because you were a super user.
Totally the all-star there, Jen, and like everything. That was awesome.
This was before I joined the team, so now I can't actually do that anymore. But I'm in the same boat as Eric. You know, I haven't attended any workshops or anything like that where I haven't received a certification. I guess it was so awesome that they decided to certify me and everything. But I think, adding to his point, you know, meetups and on conferences, things like that are really great. Especially there's things in the Bay Area in SF that are like community manager breakfasts or things like that. So I would say, even though this is slightly going on a tangent, I would definitely go to those as well. They're a lot more casual, but they're great ways to just connect with people and learn. And that unconference, you know, slightly unstructured part of it is actually a really fun time because the conversation can revolve around so many things.
I want to throw out there too, if you look on Coursera, there's actually a lot of great courses you can take that are related to community management. I've taken the gamification course. I know they have a social psychology course. There's some on data visualization as well. So there's a lot of things along those lines that you can take to just improve your skills that are related to management too. And then I believe GenPed and Kelly Lux teach a community management course at Syracuse University, and I know my friend Jen Barkley back in Canada also teaches a community management course there for her students, and actually oftentimes we end up with community manager hangout participants that are here because it was a course assignment from a course they're doing related to community management, so it's always fun to have them pop in.
Yeah, Community Roundtable is having some kind of workshop coming up soon in Boston. So it's one of the things I always wanted to know about is how do you know about other useful events to go to. So that's a resource too. I mean, you miss out on things if you don't know about it. And so I would like to be able to have some platform for us to be able to share that more regularly, more
100%.
in the community or something.
Definitely. Do any of you guys know of anything right now? Or anybody that's watching just wants to tweet something in, like any really good comprehensive resource for all of the different stuff that is going on in the community of communities?
Basically a resource for resources.
Twitter. I often see events shared on Twitter as well as in the CMX group Facebook. And I think those are great platforms. Just if you fine-tune who you're following and you're making sure that you're following people who are in tune with these events, then you're going to know when they're coming up. But someone could put together a list for sure. That'd be great. Something like a Listly list or whatnot, where multiple people can add to it and contribute to it. I think that'd be fantastic.
Very good point. And I do I want to special highlight. I was trying to figure out where I could fit it in as a resource with some of these questions, but highlight that CMX hub on Facebook. They have been doing such a great job with that. With everybody that's posting in there, I mean, the depth of information that you have there is huge. So, you know, figure it out, send a message to somebody, get yourself into that group, because it's an amazing resource for stuff like that. So,
and I would also,
go ahead.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
I would
for sure.
also encourage everyone to look up based on their city. I know Dom does a lot with the Austin one, and I'm doing the New York one. Both of us have Facebook pages, so I would definitely look up, like, based on your city. For Austin is CMX ATX, and for New York is CMX NYC. But check out your city. Check out, like, if there isn't one, start one. That's what Dom and I did, and it's really awesome. You meet really cool people, and even just like the team of people who are working with me on CMX New York. I see some of you are on the back channel on CMGR Hangout right now, but it's just like amazing people that you meet. So I would definitely encourage you all to make a city-specific one so you can meet up in person too.
And I know Sarah Niggle at Sprout Social organizes a Chicago one too. Just to throw that out there.
Big ups there. They actually just had a meetup on Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday. They just had one in Chicago and had about 15, 16 people there. And, you know, things like that, you know, especially city-specific, you're going to get a lot of really good feedback on, you know, if your community is local to your area in different ways and people you can connect with. And, you know, anything that you've learned, you know, while talking with this, the fact that we can have this hangout every single week and there's not any infighting, it's not like people are being super, you know, fighting over members for their community or this community. Everybody here really wants to help you. So, I mean, a resource is literally the person tweeting before you and after you. So that's a good point there. So number 7, question 7. And guys, we got about 20 minutes left. I'm going to try to do some story time on one of these next questions. These people don't know about it, but I'm going to try to get them to tell some stories. But question 7, well, that meant to say if you have any questions, send them in. But, all right, question 7, here we go. Have you ever found value in a member organization, and what one? So are you a member of a specific organization? Have you found value in it? Go.
Well, we were just talking about it, so but CMX I've found super helpful. I think the one thing that really drew me to CMX, and especially at the people that I met at the Lithium Link conference, is just community people are awesome. Just from like the people on this hangout and all of you on the back channel, it's just so much fun. I feel like, and even just talking to David Spinks about with like all the city leaders on why we wanted to do it, the first thing that came to my mind was all these people are awesome. Why wouldn't I want to hang out with them? Why wouldn't I want to like grab a drink with them? They're just so much fun. We help each other, like Dom said. It's all like building off of each other. You're not fighting for members. You're growing on each other's ideas, and I think that's what's so cool about it. I've also been to a few different like marketing meetups in New York City, which was helpful, but not necessarily community specific. So that's why I thought that CMX New York City was something needed in the New York area.
All right, awesome. Well, if nobody else has anything with that one, I actually want to roll into question 8 because I want to take a little bit of time with this.
I actually did want to give a quick shout out to the Community Roundtable. I personally don't have experience with their organization, but I know a lot of people who do, and I've heard a lot of good things about them. So I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for a community management organization to be a part of, for sure. And I know with that you get opportunities for like group discussions, for benchmarks, things of that nature, the workshops they put on. And actually on that note, today is actually the last day to take their survey for community management compensation and role details and whatnot. So definitely go ahead and do that if you haven't yet, just because it's really important for us as an industry to move forward, to be able to look across the board and say what is the standard for community management roles as far as like how they report, what titles are, what compensation is, what kind of programs are in place, what equals a mature, healthy community, etc. So it's a really great resource. And it looks like Dom will be right back, so we'll wait for his story and transfer right into question 8, which is which conferences do you find valuable as a community manager? Which I know we've covered a little bit, but if you guys have others to add.
The ones that I've gone to are the one important, like I mentioned before, this Community Leadership Summit that John R. Bacon started. It's an international one. People come from all over the world to it, and that's one. And then in the Bay Area, we had one called CLS West. But I have a collection of different community managers as a resource. I posted it in the Google Plus community for my community managers, so we have something to start with as far as a resource list.
Yeah, that's a great one. I would recommend if you're using a platform to definitely go to their conference. It's always a great place to connect with people who are using the same tool that you are using. And I think that's really valuable because some tips are tool specific. So not that we haven't given it enough shout outs already, but I went to Link, for example, by Lithium, and it was great because I was new to the platform, so it was a good way to connect with other people using it. Met Jen in person, although she was a long-time CMGR Hangout fan before then. Met Lindsay, met some other people, and really just got to swap stories on how to use that specific platform. And it's fun because then afterwards you go back and you ask questions on the forums and you're talking to people that you met at the conference, so it's great to actually know the people behind those usernames that you're asking questions with, and you have a little bit of rapport built already, so you don't feel quite as dumb when you're like, where's this super obvious feature that I know is there but I just can't see, things like that. And also, Dom mentioned it earlier, and Lindsay has mentioned it too, but CMX, I went to their New York event this past spring, and it was absolutely fantastic. There was some really great stuff there. I loved Anna's talk on looking, not reinventing the wheel, and looking back to a lot of grassroots community efforts like Burning Man and some others, and just seeing how you can apply those concepts to your community. And then also Evan's talk on ROI, because yes, ROI is hard, and we won't get into that because we all know that's more than an hour-long discussion here. But just because it's hard isn't an excuse not to do it, and being able to hear those concepts and some ideas on how to prove it and how to apply it to your community was just really valuable information. So I think when you can get in a room with people that are focused on stuff key to what you're doing, there's no replacement for that. And then obviously if your community has a conference, you should be there because it's a great chance to meet them.
I would also, I know I mentioned it in the beginning, but I would totally encourage everyone to find out if there's a Creative Mornings event near you. It's not necessarily like a community conference, but I think it's a really cool way to experience a community in a different way, and the speakers are really creative, so I think it just kind of gets your creative juices flowing.
Adding on to what Sherry said before too, another shout out for Lincoln. Side note, I did love it before I joined the team, so I'm not completely biased, just a tad. And then actually I haven't been to other conferences other than Lithium's, but I will be attending CMX West in October, so super excited. Give me a shout out on Twitter or mention me if you're going, we can meet up that way. And just one extra tip that I would have for people, this is something that I've tried to do in my different roles, but think about what your role entails. Sometimes, there's a conference out there that might have to do with social or marketing or something that'll be beneficial to your role. Like it might not directly be for community managers, but I think there's a lot of learning experiences out there, so definitely keep an eye out and attend those.
For sure, for sure. I know I was gone for the very beginning of this question. So, but you know, CMX is something for me. That was my first real community conference. Was the one out in New York, and I was absolutely blown away. When I go to a lot of different conferences, and this is what I've seen with a lot of these workshops and things like that. You know, I've worked in other areas, sales, marketing. There's always conferences, and it's like you can go, but you know, I've always said a 40-minute talk is not going to change the world. You know, like that's not really what it happens. But the resources that you have at these conferences, it's not just the fact that you're in the room, but it's who else is in the room with you. It's the ability to meet people face to face, to have the idea to grab a beer with them afterwards and start hashing out the details and how could you help me and this and that and all that kind of stuff. It's been, I think it really is gonna help quite a bit. So.
And also something just to build off that, like something that we kind of got from the CMX East event that the team and myself behind CMX New York are really excited about doing is a mastermind session, which is just like problem solving, breaking out into small groups and being able to like take the time to actually say, okay, like Vegas rules, but like we're actually here to help each other and build from each other's challenges or successes, and that we're able to really do that together. I think is just a really cool way to learn something new that's not just kind of like a typical networking session where you just meet each other and kind of understand what each other are doing.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Well, we had at the social media for nonprofits in San Francisco, they have in multiple cities, they had a breakout session at the end where you discuss your problem that you might be having with your social media in that case, but that is productive when you can actually have other people listen to what you're struggling with and get some outside input. And
obviously we're talking about a lot of these locations, going places. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of people that are kind of stuck and a little bit more homebound. Most of the time it's people that work from home, just doing stuff with the family. Can you guys think of any specific like online summits or meetups or anything like that that might be good resources to be able to go to for things?
Well, TechSoup in San Francisco, it's a nonprofit helping nonprofits. They have a lot of attendees come in from Second Life, and also I think there's another way is that they came in, but they have really good access for attendees because it's a global organization that helps nonprofits globally. So they have to have that set up for people not have to travel there all the time. The TechSoup.
Sweet. And if anybody else can think of anything, go ahead and throw it into the chat. It'd be great to see what you guys have. Question 9 is, did we miss anything else? Give it a shout out. I'm going to start this one off. A conference that I actually did attend while I lived in Michigan was TEDx Grand Rapids. Those TEDx events, they're not always necessarily just about community, but when you really look at it and get down to it, like a lot of those TED Talks are the types of talks we would all listen to. So, I know we talked about like CMX in different areas, and that's getting up there, but TED has a great resource network. So I would definitely suggest that. And going off of, a lot of times they have web streams if you're not able to make it, at least for part of it. So it's another great way for you to take a look at that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that on the note with Kristen's question about them being offline, TED you can watch on Netflix, you can watch on their website, you can watch everywhere, so that's very, very accessible. Also, I forgot to give this a shout out earlier, but there's a conference that Trish Fontanilla introduced me to called the Delight Conference. It takes place in Oregon, I believe, in the fall. I'm not sure if it's happened already or if it's coming up this year. Definitely take a look for it. I haven't been to it, but Trish says it's awesome, and I believe things that Trish tells me. And it's just a really great conference based around delighting your customers, which is obviously huge when you're working with communities. So I think looking for things like that are great too. I had a quick question. Eric, you at one point had a list of resources that you were putting together, didn't you? Do you still have that?
Yeah, I do, and I did post it in my community manager Google Plus community just today,
Okay.
just to get access to it so people can look at what I have started with. But that brings up a good question. What we've done at CLS and CLS West is we try to make wikis, we try to capture notes from the events, and we try to capture things as resources, and it's always a desire, and that's why I was excited about this Hangout, because that's something we want to have access to resources, and we could share resources in the community or elsewhere. Where did my Hangout go?
Okay. Jen, Lindsay, do you guys have anything to add to the what did we miss?
I think the most important thing is to listen again next week.
I think just adding on to what I said before, and I think I've noticed this more and more throughout this Hangout, is just have an open mind. There's a lot out there, and as community managers, we know it can get busy, throughout the week or throughout the day, but keep an eye out for what's out there, whether it's a meetup, whether it's like a Twitter chat or online Hangout or online conference or this thing called CMGR Hangout. There's a lot of things out there, and I think community management is a constant learning experience. So just think about all the resources out there and how you can learn from that. Sometimes it might be directly community management related. Sometimes it might not be. But I think if you keep an open mind, you'll learn a lot.
Yes,
Sweet.
totally agree. And check out Reply All and Invisibilia, because they'll totally blow your mind about the way you think about things, in my opinion.
Good stuff. All right, let's just a couple of little quick questions here. We got a couple of minutes
One quick thing too. I have a couple more things. Sorry, I was trying to get back to the mute button. There is a community building Stack Exchange. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's communitybuilding.stackexchange.com. I'll tweet that out, and that can be a great place if you like the Stack Exchange format for resources. And then the other one. Now I forget. Go to your questions. I'll come back to it.
Sounds good. Eric, this one I think is really towards you. What is which conference is the nonprofit one you were mentioning?
Well, it's actually it's not a conference. It's a regular meetup once a month. It's called TechSoup, TechSoup Global, TECH, and then Soup, SOUP. But I also mentioned the international one that's up in Portland. That's called Community Leadership Summit. So I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Okay. Well, Jennifer, there you go. You got both of them. So, and then this is a fun question. It's a deep question, but I think it'll help spark some stuff moving forward. In your opinion, what does the future look like for the community manager? We're talking about all these resources, how we're going to get better at our job. Like, if you were to take out your community manager crystal ball right now, what do you think the future looks like for the? What do you think the future looks like for the community manager? Not everybody all at once.
I mean, it's a hard one, right? Like, can you predict the future? I'm not sure. I think that, the way that content and information is going, I think that we will have to be even better that we're gathering. I definitely find that whether it's in the marketing lens or in the community lens, where someone will come up and say, oh, hey, I have this awesome idea for a video. You can put it on the community. We could put it on social, and it's going to go viral. Not necessarily the case, most of all. So I think just really being able to connect each other, but also to be even better at pulling together relevant information in a concise way will be, I don't know where that will be, what platform, or if we'll all be on the newer version of Google Glass, but just kind of a different way that, no matter where the platform is or where the future goes, it's all really about content and connecting people. So I think that's my brainstorm.
I love that. And adding to that, I think that in this day and age, with technology being as it is, people's expectations will rise. Just comparing now versus 5 years ago, there was Amazon, There's now Amazon same-day delivery, or like those Google drones, or you can request a ride for like using Uber or Lyft. So customer expectations are rising, and I think in that way, community management will continue to change as we try to deliver the right expectations, or deliver, to customer expectations. And not only that, but you want to delight and, basically delight customers and make that experience a good one. So I think community management is an art that you have to kind of keep up with, and I think that pace will only get faster and faster.
That's a really great point. Sherry, you said that you remember your other resource. Is that correct? Do you not remember your other resource?
I remember it.
Okay.
It was really simple because we were talking about meetups. Go to meetup.com, search your area for community, and find out what Hangouts are already happening that you can do. Do a search on Twitter or LinkedIn. Actually, I did this when I first moved to Canada. I did a search on LinkedIn in the area for job titles related to community, as well as on Twitter for people in community-related fields to start a meetup in the area around community. And I think that's a really great way just to get a network nearby you of people doing relevant things, just so that you have that support network there too.
Definitely. And I mean, it's the most simple thing, but like when we were talking about just using Twitter is such a huge tool. Like I moved to Austin 48 hours before South by Southwest started, and I had no idea what was going on. I was like super late to sign up for any meetups or any parties or anything like that, and I just put out a tweet. I was like, hey, everybody. And you might not have people that live there now, but have lived there in the past, and they can connect you to somebody that's outside of your general network. So that's how I ended up going to a party and getting an @ symbol as a tattoo at South by Southwest. So you never. And true, yes, I did mostly just adopt Sherry's South by Southwest schedule because she came in to there. So, all right, awesome. So yeah, we do have a couple of other questions out there. So we'll make sure that we'll retweet them from the community manager Twitter handles so other people can answer them and things like that. Sherry, what do we have going on next week?
I don't know. There's some things in the works, but if you have ideas, send them my way. The following week, we'll be talking about trolls and bullies in communities, but as far as directly next week, I'm not sure yet. So definitely keep sending your ideas in. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to reply, but I will, I promise.
Yeah. And so I didn't actually say it at the top of the show because I'm not as good as Brew, but if you go to my community manager, mycmgr.com, and then you click on, there's a link that says participate. You can click on that, submit ideas. You could say you want to be on panel. You could say, man, that Dom dude sucks. We need Brew back immediately. Any and all feedback we appreciate. So thanks a lot for joining, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Thank you.